Throughout her childhood, Louisa felt overshadowed by her older sister Kayla, whom her parents considered a prodigy. Louisa's parents believed that one successful child was enough, and they devoted all their attention and resources to Kayla, while Louisa was treated as an extra. Whenever Louisa achieved anything, whether in academics or sports, she was overlooked by her parents, not because of her efforts, but because she could not compare to Kayla, whom they considered their favorite. This comparison created a growing gap between Louisa and her family, making her feel lonely and unloved. From a young age, Louisa had to witness her parents praising Kayla and attributing her success to her innate intelligence, while she was considered incompetent. Louisa's father always bragged about Kayla's achievements, even calling it family DNA, and boasting to his friends that his daughter was an outstanding person. This made Louisa feel that she could never achieve recognition because all her successes were ignored. When Kayla was praised for her outstanding intelligence, Louisa's parents became even more interested and decided to invest in Kayla's education, sending her to extra classes and taking entrance exams. Meanwhile, Louisa was not encouraged to pursue her passion or develop herself, but was instead responsible for all the housework, from washing to cleaning. This little girl, despite her efforts, only received criticism for not being able to keep up with her sister. This unfair treatment gradually made Louisa feel like she was useless in the family, someone who always had to work hard but never received the recognition she deserved. The relationship between Louisa and her parents became increasingly strained, as they only valued one child, Kayla, and always considered Louisa a failure, never capable of meeting their expectations. After Louisa was kicked out of her home for not being able to meet her parents' financial demands, she turned to the only person in her family who could accept her, her uncle. Despite his modest financial situation, he was willing to open his arms to welcome Louisa and care for her with boundless love. His words, "Louisa, I may not have much, but I will be proud to be your father," is an affirmation that love does not always come from those who have abundant material conditions, but sometimes it comes from those who truly care and love you unconditionally. Louisa's uncle was a man with poor health and had difficulty at work, but he was always ready to support her with all his might. His help was not wealth or power, but patience, love, and empathy. It was these spiritual values that helped Louisa overcome the pain of loss and rejection from her family, making her feel true love without any conditions. The whole life in her uncle's small house was simple but warm, containing a sincere love that Louisa had never experienced in her biological family. Because her uncle was the only person who was by Louisa's side during her difficult times, she began to realize that a real family is not just those who are related by blood, but those who are always there and love you even when you are going through difficult challenges. She learned that there is no need to wait for recognition from those who abandoned you, but to create happiness and love from those who truly appreciate you. The feeling of being loved by her uncle helped Louisa regain her confidence and strength to continue living and striving for herself, no longer being controlled by unreasonable expectations from her family. As Louisa continued to live with her uncle, life gradually became more stable, although things were still very modest in terms of material things. However, it was during these hardships that she began to understand that true love and care could not be measured by possessions or wealth. Her uncle never brought Louisa expensive gifts or trips as she had hoped from her family, but he was always the one who took the time to listen to her, comfort her when she was sad, and encourage her when she felt defeated. What Louisa realized was that the warmth, comfort, and understanding that her uncle provided were invaluable values that could not be bought with money. One of the important lessons Louisa learned was the value of patience and unconditional love. Her uncle never focused on her success or failure. Instead, he only wanted Louisa to find happiness and live a full life. He understood that it was not always possible to change everything, but it was important to love and support the people you care about. His simple words, like, "As long as you try your best, I will always be there for you," helped Louisa find strength within herself and feel protected. It was during this time that Louisa began to develop not only emotionally, but also professionally. With his encouragement, Louisa continued to study and seek career opportunities. Although he could not support her financially, his encouragement and belief in her laid a solid foundation for Louisa to rebuild her life. With hard work and determination, Louisa gradually achieved her first successes in her work. This development was not only the result of her own efforts, but also thanks to the love and support of a true family member who never gave up on her when things got tough. Louisa gradually realized that not everyone in her family was worthy of her appreciation. This change in perspective made her understand that, although family can be a source of expectations and pressure, true love is not something you have to seek from people who do not appreciate you. True love comes from those who are always there for you, support you in difficult times, and never abandon you no matter how you fail or stumble. Life with her uncle is a lesson in sacrifice, patience, and true love. Louisa began to realize that she did not have to live up to her parents' expectations, but could create her own family, a family of her choice, where love and care were the most important things. It was from these simple things that Louisa found the freedom and strength to live a full life. After Louisa's parents coldly decided to kick her out of the house, she fell into despair. Pushed out of the home she had lived in for so many years, Louisa had no choice but to seek help from her uncle. This was not only a turning point in her life, but also an important milestone in the formation of Louisa's concept of family, love, and sacrifice. Louisa's uncle, although not rich and living in very modest conditions, reached out to help her without hesitation. He did not have much money, could not give Louisa luxurious material things, but he had the priceless thing that Louisa needed most: love and sincere care. He never condemned Louisa for her situation. Instead, he was always by her side, listening, comforting, and encouraging. He gave Louisa a real home, not from material things, but from warm affection and protection. That home did not have luxurious meals or expensive gifts, but was filled with care and encouragement. During her time living with her uncle, Louisa gradually understood that love is not something you can seek from the relationships around you if they do not truly bring warmth and peace to the soul. Her uncle, despite suffering from illness and hardship in life, was the only person who always showed unconditional love to her. These days helped Louisa realize the value of sincere affection, sacrifice without expecting anything in return. This became even more clear when her uncle said, "I don't need much from you, just be true to yourself and find happiness." His presence not only helped Louisa overcome the trauma of the past, but also gave her the strength to face all challenges in the future. Thanks to her uncle, Louisa regained her confidence and became stronger in her work and life. She was determined not to let her painful past hinder her future, and it was her uncle's encouragement that became an invaluable source of motivation to help her stand up and start over. This affirmed that love and support from someone who truly cares can be the key to overcoming all difficulties, restoring faith in life, and finding happiness in the simplest things. Through the years living with her uncle, Louisa was not only cared for materially, but also nurtured spiritually. Her uncle's lessons of patience, sacrifice, and unconditional love helped Louisa realize that family is not always the people who gave birth to us, but can be the people who are always by our side, sharing love and never giving up. After Louisa was kicked out of her home by her parents, her life entered a period of harsh trials. But those difficult days were an opportunity for her to realize one important thing: the sacrifice and love she found in her uncle was the only thing that helped her overcome all adversity. It was he, who had nothing but unconditional love, who opened his arms to welcome her into his home when no one else was willing to do so. Living with him, Louisa no longer felt the coldness of her parents, but instead a sincere, warm affection. Although her uncle did not have much money and often faced illness, he always listened to Louisa and encouraged her. He always encouraged her to do what she felt was right and to find happiness in simple things. When Louisa felt tired and lost, he was the only one who stood by her side, sharing the burden and making her feel loved. His love is not something grand or ostentatious, but small but meaningful actions. He is not only a material protector, but also a companion, a teacher who teaches Louisa valuable lessons about life. It is he who helps Louisa understand that love does not always come with luxurious material things, but sometimes simple, sincere things are the greatest source of motivation to help people overcome difficulties. Louisa's uncle has proven that, sometimes, relatives are not always the ones who gave birth to us, but can be the ones who stand by us when we need them most, sharing love and sacrifice without asking for anything in return. Life with him is not only a spiritual salvation, but also a lesson in patience, unconditional love, and strength in difficult times. These lessons help Louisa build a strong foundation to face any challenge in life, as well as open up new paths for her future. After Louisa was abandoned by her family, she had to face life and its challenges on her own. However, the fall and abandonment were not only a tragedy, but also an important turning point that helped her realize herself and the true values in life. More importantly, Louisa found great comfort from the only person who always stood by her, her uncle. Although he was not rich, had poor health, and had a very difficult life, he always tried to create a warm home for Louisa full of love and care. His kindness helped Louisa realize an important thing: true love is never lacking. He had nothing but love and care for her, which could not be compared to what the family had treated Louisa for all these years. He became the one who taught Louisa valuable lessons about sacrifice and unconditional love without asking for anything in return. Every day with him, Louisa realized that happiness is not something far away or grand, but is simple, loving actions and helping each other in difficult times. His steadfastness helped Louisa realize that in life, we cannot always rely on the help of family or blood relatives. Sometimes, the people around us, who are not our biological parents or siblings, can give us stronger support. Through this, Louisa learned to appreciate those who truly care and are willing to accompany her every step of the way. His love opened Louisa's eyes to another value in life. It is not the family members who will always support you, but the people who truly love you, whether they are blood relatives or not. Lessons of patience, sacrifice, and true love give Louisa a deeper insight into love and family. When Louisa went through the biggest challenges of her life, she not only had to face the rejection of her family, but also had to learn to be independent and rebuild her life from scratch. After being pushed out of her family, Louisa turned to the only person willing to help her, her uncle. Although he was a simple man, with poor health and little wealth, his love and sacrifice helped Louisa overcome that difficult time. He was not only the one who raised her materially, but also the one who gave her a spiritual home, where Louisa could find comfort and motivation to continue moving forward. Life under his care was not a life of luxury, but was filled with human values and sincere love. Louisa realized that, instead of material gifts, what she really needed was unconditional love and support. Every day, he gave Louisa advice, kind gestures, and deep concern, helping Louisa gradually realize her own worth. It was from that care that Louisa gradually recovered and regained her faith in life. During the time living with him, Louisa began to learn how to stand on her own, no longer relying on the help of her parents. She learned how to work hard, build her own future, and constantly strive to repay him. Although he could not give her a life full of material things, his boundless love was a priceless gift that Louisa always cherished. His sacrifice made Louisa understand that family love cannot always be measured by material things or support from family members. It was in this situation that Louisa realized that sometimes not everyone in the family can be a support for her. Sometimes it is those who are not blood relatives who will truly love and stand by you. The life that Louisa experienced taught her a valuable lesson about love and sacrifice. She learned to appreciate those who truly treat her well, even if they are not her biological family. This helped Louisa grow up, no longer dreaming of family recognition, but learning to create her own life and values. When Louisa decided to reject all help from her parents and stand on her own 2 feet, she was faced with a heartbreaking truth. The people she had always trusted and considered family were the ones who had abandoned her, not just once, but many times. Louisa's parents, who had long created an unfair environment, favored and pampered her younger sister Kayla, while always considering Louisa a failure, incapable of meeting their expectations. Louisa had struggled all her life with the lack of love and acceptance from her own family. However, it was these difficulties that helped Louisa realize an important thing. A person's value does not lie in the recognition of family or society, but in oneself. Despite being abandoned, Louisa did not give up but decided to start her life over. The independence she learned from her uncle became a solid foundation for Louisa to build a new life. She no longer felt hurt or sought approval from her parents, but instead focused on developing herself and doing what she truly loved. The lesson Louisa learned from her journey was that family love is not always about help, but sometimes it is about respect and caring with a sincere heart. Her parents failed to nurture and love their children equally, which forced Louisa to find a way to heal her own wounds and build a different family for herself, a family not determined by blood, but by love and support. From her painful experiences, Louisa learned that sometimes we do not need to continue to seek love or acceptance from those who have hurt us. What is more important is the freedom to love and care for ourselves, and always remember that when we love ourselves, we can love and care for others completely. This lesson not only helped Louisa grow up, but also served as a powerful message to all of us about the power of independence and the importance of loving ourselves. The biggest lesson Louisa learned throughout her journey of finding acceptance and love from her family was the importance of building and maintaining genuine relationships, not based on blood, but on respect and true love. Despite facing pain, contempt, and even abandonment from her parents, Louisa persisted in finding and building a real family for herself, a family not based on blood, but on genuine love and care for each other. When Louisa's parents constantly compared her to Kayla, she had to face the feeling of being unloved and not good enough, causing Louisa to constantly try to prove herself. However, through those hurts, Louisa realized that living up to other people's expectations does not bring true happiness. Instead, she learned that independence, finding self-worth, and respecting yourself are the keys to building a fulfilling life. Having been rejected, unaccepted, or faced with contempt from her family, Louisa decided not to let those feelings define her. Instead of living in disappointment and hurt, she chose to stand up, continue moving forward, and seek help from those who truly loved her, like her uncle, who always gave Louisa unconditional care and love. The important thing that Louisa realized on this journey is that love does not always come from blood relatives. She did not need to continue to seek acceptance from her parents, but could create for herself a new family, a family that not only cared for, but also understood and supported each other. True love is caring for each other without any conditions. She also understood that sometimes family members may not be the ones who can love us unconditionally, and this helped her let go of unrealistic expectations and instead build healthy relationships filled with love and respect. Louisa's life became more meaningful when she learned to respect herself and realized that independence is the key to happiness. She stopped looking for recognition or love from her family and started loving herself. This is a lesson that Louisa wants to send to those who are facing difficulties in family relationships, especially when feeling abandoned or unloved. The reality is that we can find love and acceptance elsewhere, even from people outside of our family, and that is completely reasonable. Loving yourself, creating an independent life, and maintaining genuine relationships will bring each person true peace and happiness. The idea of independence and personal growth in the context of a family that may not be perfect is a valuable lesson that Louisa has learned throughout her journey. The event of Louisa's parents coldly kicking her out of the house when she was only 15 years old left her with deep wounds. But instead of letting herself be defeated, Louisa chose to overcome that pain and rebuild her own life, not relying on the support of her family, but instead standing on her own and developing. When her parents rejected her, Louisa not only felt the loss of family affection, but also had to face the truth about love and acceptance in family relationships. However, she found a precious replacement in her life, which was the care and love of her uncle, who became a real father figure, always ready to help her when needed. Although her uncle did not have much money, poverty did not take away the unconditional love he had for her. He became Louisa's supporter, providing her with a solid foundation for her to develop and find joy in life. This taught Louisa an important lesson about independence and the power of resilience. She learned not to depend on the validation of others, especially her family, to define her self-worth. By not relying on her parents' financial or emotional support, Louisa built a happy and successful life for herself. She found fulfillment and freedom in her work, in raising her small family, and in continuing to care for her uncle as a way to repay his sacrifice. The important lesson Louisa learned was to build an independent life and not rely on her family to feel love and acceptance. She realized that independence is not only about finances, but also about the spirit, about the ability to believe in yourself and find your own value without needing recognition from others. Louisa's story is a living testament to the power of independence, daring to overcome pain and create a new life full of hope. The idea of maturity, change, and the ability to face challenges is one of the major themes in Louisa's story. Through difficult experiences from childhood to adulthood, Louisa learned how to not only overcome but also grow through major life events, especially in her relationship with her family. Despite being rejected by her parents and living in a difficult situation, Louisa did not give up. She found the strength within herself, thanks to the support of her uncle, to rebuild her life and gradually become an independent, confident person. Louisa's maturity comes not only from the lessons she learns in her daily life, but also from the painful experiences she has to endure. Being kicked out of the house by her parents when she was only 15 years old was not only a big shock, but also an opportunity for her to realize that she cannot rely on others to determine her self-worth. She began to understand that love and recognition do not always come from the people closest to her, but sometimes independence and the ability to face challenges will help us grow and become stronger. One of the most important turning points in Louisa's journey to adulthood was when she found a new role model, an uncle who loved her and was willing to take care of her in difficult times. Although he was not financially rich, his love and care for Louisa replaced everything she lacked from her family. It was his sacrifice that created a solid foundation for Louisa, helping her realize that true love does not necessarily come from parents, but can come from other relationships, people who truly care and are willing to support us through difficult times. This made Louisa realize an important lesson about maturity. We do not need to depend on others to find happiness and peace in life. Instead, everyone has the ability to overcome difficulties, create their own path, and grow through those challenges. Louisa's story is a living testament to the transformation from a girl abandoned by her family to a strong, independent, and proud woman. The idea of forgiveness and the ability to move on from past hurts is a profound theme in Louisa's story. Forgiveness, especially when faced with hurt from loved ones, is a difficult but crucial lesson in growing up. Louisa faced rejection and coldness from her own family, who should have been her biggest source of support and love. However, throughout her difficult journey, Louisa learned that forgiveness does not mean forgetting the hurt, but rather setting herself free from resentment and grief. One of the most important moments in Louisa's life was when she came face to face with her parents after many years of separation. They, who had rejected her, now wanted to come back and restore the family relationship. However, Louisa did not easily accept their apologies and regrets. She had suffered from coldness and indifference in the past, and now she could not forget what they had done to her. However, she did not let those feelings control her. She understood that forgiveness was not for them, but for herself. She no longer wanted to let the pain of the past continue to hurt her. Louisa's refusal to open the door to her parents was not an act of revenge, but a way for her to protect herself from further pain. She learned to let go of the past, not to let the memories of rejection and pain hold her back. Instead, she chose a new life, a future that she built for herself, with the love and support of her uncle, the only person in the family who has always been there for her. The great lesson from Louisa's story is that forgiving those who have hurt you is not to make them feel better, but to set yourself free. Forgiveness is the way to free ourselves from the bondage of the past and move forward stronger. Louisa chose to forgive herself, to continue living the life she deserved.